What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see we actually got 22 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 3 picks wrong and got 22 right, which is a 90% win rate. Yes guys, you heard that right, 90% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 90% win rate and get 22 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be a link down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $210 just yesterday. Another member who won $230 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. Also, quick shout out to Larry Steffens 5778 who said God is good, and shouts out to Small Steps 401 who said amen. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we've been talking about is none other than Chet Holmgren, and this one's a fantastic one for actually 1.5 3-pointers made, and this one actually is for less. Now looking at Chet Holmgren, we've actually seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. So this is a fantastic one. Now looking at those 5 games, you see on April 21st faced off against Memphis where he had 3 3-pointers made there. Then on April 23rd against Memphis again had actually 3 3-pointers made. After that, April 25th against the same team had 5 3-pointers made, and then April 27th had 0, and then to finish off against Denver Nuggets on May 6th, which was game 1, we actually saw him have 0 3-pointers made there. Now looking at this team, obviously OKC have done a fantastic job all season, and now they do have another playoff matchup against none other than the Denver Nuggets. Now it's definitely going to be a very exciting game, as we all know. Now looking at both of these teams and where they did what they did during the regular season, we actually did see Oklahoma City Thunder, OKC, did come in with a 68-14 record in the Western Conference. They actually had the #1 spot in the Western Conference, but not just that, but they actually had the best record out of all 30 teams. So they had an 82.9% win percentage. They did absolutely fantastic there, and they do face off against the Denver Nuggets like we mentioned, and what we do see is that the Denver Nuggets did actually rank 4th in the Western Conference with actually a record of 50-32. So for that reason, we do like this matchup quite a lot. It's definitely been a big one. 61% win percentage from actually, the Denver Nuggets as well. So these are 2 top teams definitely battling it out. Now looking at this matchup as well, what we also do see is looking at Denver and where they have ranked defensively on the 3-ball. We've actually seen something pretty interesting. Now when it came to 3-point percentages allowed, Denver Nuggets actually ranked 22nd. When we actually look at 3-point attempts allowed, we did see Denver also ranked 21st, and then 3 points made allowed, we saw the Denver Nuggets also rank 20th. So they rank a little bit low in all 3 categories. However, the reason why we still do like the under for this situation here is that Denver actually do a fantastic job at actually restricting 3-pointers to the big man position. Now, this doesn't really matter if it is a power forward or a center. Denver Nuggets, especially with the bigs that they've done a fantastic job at really restricting 3s from those positions, and we definitely see that happening coming into this next game. Now, looking at someone like Chet Holmgren, what we also do see is that Chet is also, a big player for this team, do not get me wrong, but we are expecting other players, like we noticed in the first game, to have a little bit more usage rate than him, on that 3-ball. Obviously, Chet isn't the main scorer. That's obviously SGA. You also have Jalen, who's also a big scorer for this team as well. And on top of that, from the three ball, Chet tends to be, have his games when it comes to his 3-point percentages. Some games he may not shoot a lot of threes, and other games he shoots a bunch. But in this matchup against Denver, we should actually see him have less volume than usual. And we did see that in game one. Like we mentioned on May 6th against Denver, he actually had 0 3-pointers made. And it's not like OKC played poorly. They all played until the end, but Chet wasn't just able to connect on a three. And that's what we are expecting in this next game as well, and his volume wasn't too much, as we usually see. Now, looking at also his average over the last 5, obviously it is 2.2, but there are outlier games. They did come off a series against Memphis, and Memphis, as we all know, were actually the bottom team or the 8th team in that actual playoff series. So that's one of the reasons why Chet and also the rest of the Oklahoma City Thunder did have quite, big stat lines due to the fact that they did face off against an easier team. Now, Denver is a big, more of a tougher matchup, and that's why it's definitely going to be an interesting one there. Now, looking at Chet during the regular season and when we actually saw him face off against Denver Nuggets during the regular season, now, we actually did see in October, we actually saw on the 24th of October, they faced off against each other. And in that matchup, he actually had 0 3-pointers made there. After that, we also saw them face off against each other on the 6th of November. So just, the month after, he had 2 3-pointers made there. After that, faced again on actually March 9th. And then he had 1 3-pointer made there. And then on the 10th, which was pretty much the day after, so a back-to-back, he had 0 3-pointers made there. So out of all 4 games, he went on the under in 3 out of those 4 games. That is a big thing for us, and why we do very much like the under for this one. We also saw him not take too many threes, and some of the games where he did take a lot of threes, like the first game and the last game that they did play, he did have a 0%. He went 0 from 5 from both games. So, like I mentioned before, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, great defenders. They do a great job at actually defending the 3-ball, and that's where we definitely see Chet should be struggling in that matchup. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for Chet in this situation. So Chet Holmgren, 1.5 3-pointers made for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about a great player, and that is none other than Peyton Pritchard. So, Peyton Pritchard, great player, as we all know. Now, this is from the Eastern Conference now, so we are looking at a different, segment, I would say. And this one's a great one for 9.5 points for Peyton Pritchard. And this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Peyton, we've actually seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those last 5 games, it's definitely been an interesting time for him. But we do see on April 24th, faced off against Orlando, where he had 14 points there. Then April 26th, faced off against Orlando, had 3 points. Then April 28th, faced off against them again, had 0 points. And then the last final game to push him over that series on April 30th, he had 10 points in that matchup. Now, against New York Knicks, he did do a pretty decent job and actually had 13 points in game 1. Now, he did take the loss, but he did have 13 on May 6th. Now, his average over the last 5 is actually 8, so significantly below his line as well. Now, looking at this matchup, it's definitely a big matchup, but looking at New York Knicks and Boston Celtics and how it has been going so far, obviously New York Knicks were able to take game 1. It was a big game. Knicks are up 1-0 in this series heading into game 2. Now, looking at where both of these teams rank, we actually did see Boston Celtics come in with a better record and also a better position. They actually came second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 61-21. So not only did they have the second best record in the Eastern Conference, but they actually had the third best record out of all 30 NBA teams. So they had a 74.4% win percentage. They did absolutely fantastic there. Now, looking at the New York Knicks, we do see this being a very good matchup. Now, Knicks did come in at the 3rd spot with a 51-31 record. Now, they also had a 62.2% win percentage during that matchup. So it definitely was a big matchup for them. Now, looking at actually, where this game may go, we do see New York Knicks, when it comes to points allowed, we actually do see them rank pretty well, as they rank 9th in points allowed. So they rank very well when it comes to points allowed, and we definitely see that being a bit of an issue for someone like Pritchard. Now, on top of that, New York Knicks actually do a fantastic job at restricting points to the guard position as well. And for someone like Peyton Pritchard, we definitely see him going on the under here. Though Peyton did go on the over in that first game, as I always like to mention, when it comes to game ones tend to be a very unpredictable game due to the fact that these two teams are still adjusting to each other. So a lot of unpredictability can definitely happen, but coming into this game too, we are expecting New York Knicks to adjust to this because they do not want Peyton Pritchard, to get hot in a hurry and be able to score like he did last game, 13 points. So we should definitely see a different sort of defensive strategy that should restrict Peyton Pritchard as much as possible. And what we also are expecting on top of this is that when we look at Peyton overall, we actually have seen him have a couple of outlier games. It's brought this line a little bit too high that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under. Now looking at Peyton against, actually the New York Knicks during the regular season, we've definitely seen some interesting things. Now they faced off against each other on the 22nd of October, and he had 3 points in that matchup. So went on the under there. After that, they faced off against each other again on the 8th of February, and in that matchup, he had 25 points, so he did go off in that game. And then after that, faced off again on the 23rd of that same month of February and had 3 points there. Then on the 8th of April, we actually saw him have 8 points in that matchup. So we did see Peyton Pritchard actually go on the under in 3 out of those 4 games. So that's very, very significant to us and why we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely saw during the regular season, Knicks just do a fantastic job overall when it comes to restricting points. And we definitely see that happening into this next game, no doubt about it, especially for this matchup. So for that reason, keep an eye out for Peyton Pritchard's line. Like I mentioned, his average over the last 5 is also 8 as well, so significantly below. So Peyton Pritchard, 9.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than his teammate, Kristaps Porzingis. So guys, I know there are a couple of overlap picks, but you do have to remember there is only 2 NBA games. It is playoff time, but these are still, a lot of great picks, but it just may be from the similar or same games. Now, looking at this one's a great one for Kristaps for 24.5 for a PRA or points, rebounds, and assists, and this one actually is for less. So looking at Kristaps, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those last 5 games, you see on April 24th, faced off against Orlando, where he had 31 PRA there, so points, rebounds, and assists. Then on April 26th, faced off against each other again against Orlando and had a 14 PRA there. After that, we actually saw him actually face off against Orlando again on April 28th. And in that matchup, we actually saw him have a 25 PRA. April 30th had a 12 PRA to send him to the next round. Now, coming into game 1 against New York Knicks on May 6th, we actually saw him face off against New York Knicks and have a 5 PRA there. So when it comes to Kristaps, his average over the last 5 is only 17.4, so significantly below this line. And now they do face off against none other than the New York Knicks, like we mentioned. Now, just to reiterate, don't want to just go through it too quickly, but obviously Knicks, Boston came in second, 61-21 record, as we all know, and the Knicks had a 51-31 record and came in third. So definitely big sort of rankings there between both of these teams. Now looking at New York Knicks and where they actually ranked, we did see New York Knicks, like we mentioned before, ranked 9th when it came to points allowed, but they also ranked 7th in assists allowed and rebounds allowed. They also do rank 2nd. So New York Knicks are not only just a great defensive team, but they do a great defensive job, especially against big men. And that's where we definitely saw, them doing that during the regular season. Obviously, they did hold him to, 5 PRA in that game 1. Now, when we also look at that matchup as well, it was definitely a very interesting game. But what we did notice a lot is that New York Knicks really put a lot of their focus on the star players of, the Boston Celtics team, whether that's Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or even Kristaps Porzingis. Now, Kristaps did only play 13 minutes in that game 1. However, still, we do believe, even when you look at the other bigs that were trying to replace him, like Al Horford, playing that big man role, or even Luke Cornett, they weren't really able to get anything going, and we don't expect that with Kristaps coming into this next game. So players like Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns have done a great job defensively, and we definitely see that continuing on, especially into this game too. Now, looking at Kristaps and facing off against the Knicks during the regular season, we definitely see some interesting stat lines. Now, they did face off against each other on the February of 23rd, and he had 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists in that matchup. So did pretty well during that matchup as well. Now the second matchup was actually on the 8th of April, and he had 34 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists there. Now we actually do see Kristaps going, in the under in this situation, even though in those 2 games he faced off against Knicks, he was able to go on the over. We still do very much like the under in this next game. Like we always mentioned, playoffs are definitely a different battle. We are expecting a lot of the defensive focus to be on someone like Kristaps and stop him as much as possible, on top of Tatum and also Jaylen Brown. So for that reason, we definitely do very much like the under for this situation still. New York Knicks have just done a fantastic job consistently. Kristaps may have had some big games for sure, but coming into this next one, we should see, New York Knicks be able to really strategize and get their defense going. So for that reason, keep an eye for Kristaps. Kristaps Porzingis, 24.5 points, rebs, and assists for less, I think is a great pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Jaylen Brown. So as you all know, Jaylen Brown, fantastic player from the Boston Celtics, and he did a fantastic job during the regular season because he actually averaged 22.2 points, 5.8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, while also shooting 46.3% from the field. So he absolutely did a fantastic job there. And when we look at someone like Jaylen Brown, what we also do see is that we actually have seen him ranked 22nd in points, 52nd in rebounds, and 46th in assists. So he did a fantastic job. He also ranked 70th in, field goal percentage. So pretty much ranked in the top 100 in all 4 categories. So that's honestly a great job from Jaylen Brown on an individual aspect. Now they do face off against the New York Knicks. Now looking at this matchup, it's definitely been a very, very good matchup, due to the fact that, Jaylen Brown and Boston Celtics have actually lost game 1 to the New York Knicks. So they are down 1-0 in this series, but they are looking to take control back coming into this next game. Now, looking at Jaylen Brown and the New York Knicks, we also do see, the matchup between both of these teams is very interesting. Boston Celtics did come in second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 61-21. So very, very good record there. And then we also see the New York Knicks have a record of 51-31. So 10 game difference between both of those teams. Celtics actually had a 74% win percentage, and then New York Knicks had a 62.2% win percentage. So we have already chatted about that already, but looking at New York Knicks and where they actually rank defensively, we do see that New York Knicks do rank 9th in points allowed. When it comes to assists allowed, we also did see the Knicks come in at 7th, and then they also ranked 2nd when it came to rebounds allowed. So they actually did a fantastic job ranking very well in all 3 categories. Now, when it comes to someone like Jaylen Brown, we definitely do or are expecting him to go on the under in this situation here. New York Knicks have been a great, great defensive team, and we definitely see that translating over into the next game. Obviously, looking at his matchup and the matchup that New York Knicks do put on Jaylen Brown, it's definitely been a mix of OG Anunoby, Josh Hart at times, so it's definitely been a mixed bag, but we are expecting a lot of the defensive focus to be on the star players like Jaylen Brown and even Jason Tatum, and try to restrict them as much as they can. Now looking at Jaylen Brown and how he has done so far, in the last couple of games, we saw in game 2 against Orlando, we actually saw him have 36 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists there. Then in game 3 actually had 19 points, 1 assist, and 6 rebounds. Then after that in game 4 actually had 21 points, 1 assist, and also 11 rebounds against Orlando. Game 5 against Orlando again, where they won 120-89, he had 23 points, 3 assists, and 6 rebounds. So he did a fantastic job there. Now coming into this next one, we do very, very much like this matchup, but looking at game 1 and how they obviously did lose to actually the New York Knicks in game 1, 108-105 in an overtime, great game. And then he had 23 points, 5 assists, and 7 rebounds in that matchup. So, he did do pretty well stats wise, but we are expecting in this next game for a lot of adjustments to be made. So for for that reason, we do very much, like the under for this situation here. We definitely see someone like Jaylen Brown going on the under due to the fact that also both of these teams are very slow paced, and we are expecting in this game too to be a very slow paced game, which means less volume, and less volume usually means, a lot when it comes to stats, so less stats there. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for Jaylen Brown. Keep an eye out for his line. If the line is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Jalen Williams. So looking at Jalen Williams, we have seen him do a fantastic job. Now, obviously, he has done a great job for Orlando. He's actually averaged 21.6 points during the regular season, 5.3 rebounds, ranking 65th, which I thought was great, and then 5.1 assists while also shooting 48.4% from the field. So he did a great job there, and like I mentioned, with the rebounds, he ranked 65th. He also ranked 25th in points, 34th in assists, and then 44th in field goal percentage. So he definitely did a fantastic job there. Now, looking at someone like Jalen Williams, we do very much like this matchup because they do face off against the Denver Nuggets. Now, looking at this matchup with the Denver Nuggets actually lead the series 1-0. They were able to go away with the win in that game one. Aaron Gordon did hit a really tough shot. It did go in, and unfortunately, it didn't go Oklahoma City's way. So they do actually trail in the series 1-0. It is just the first game, so now we are still heading into game 2, and it's still Oklahoma City's home court. Now, looking at both of these teams, just to touch on again, we did see, Thunder finish the season with the number 1 spot, not only just in their conference, but in the rest of the league. They had a 68-14 record, 82.9% win percentage, like we mentioned. And then also Nuggets on the other side had a 50-32 record with a 61% win percentage and landed them the 4th spot in the Western Conference. So they did a fantastic job there. Now, looking at this matchup, it's definitely a big matchup, but looking at Denver and where they do rank defensively, we do see that Denver did rank 25th in the regular season when it came to points allowed. When it came to assists allowed, they also ranked 29th, and then rebounds allowed, they rank 6th. So they rank a little bit better in that assist category. Now, when it comes to someone like Jalen Williams, we do actually like the under for this situation here, but strictly just for rebounds. Now, a big reason being is that Denver Nuggets actually do a fantastic job against rebounds. Now, the reason why we do like the under, and we are just specifically focusing on that, is that Denver actually do a pretty poor job against points and assists. So he may be in a pretty good position, in those two categories. However, what you do also have to notice is that when it comes to Jalen Williams, although he is a great player, he isn't the star player for this actual team. So since he isn't the star player for this team, we are expecting players like Shea, even other players like Caruso, and Chet Holmgren to add a couple into the mix, have a little bit of extra usage rate out there due to the fact that a lot of the attention may be on Jalen Williams at times, and it may force him, to be out of play in certain situations. And that's how Denver Nuggets really do like to run their defensive rotations. That's why we definitely see it being a big thing there. So just like we mentioned, we do like the under, however, strictly just for rebounds. Now, looking at these most recent games, obviously they did a fantastic job in round 1, but just to quickly touch on it, game 1 had 20 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds against Memphis, and a 131-80 win. Then in game 2 had 118-99 win. He had 24 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds in that matchup. Then game 3 had 26 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds, 114 and 108 win. And then game 4, 23 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds, which was a 117 to 115 win there. So they actually did sweep them. Now heading into game 1 against Denver, he actually had 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists there. So he did a pretty decent job. Now, when you actually look at his stats, he did go over on his rebound line. Now, we aren't saying he did get lucky, but obviously game 1, there's a lot of adjustments that still need to be made. It is game 1, so obviously, things of that nature can definitely slip by in a sense of defensive strategies, but we are expecting, in this next matchup to be a very different story. So for that reason, we do very much, like the under 4 rebounds, so keep an eye out for that line. Like I always mentioned, if the line is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under there. So definitely keep an eye out for Jalen Williams. Now getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Josh Hart. So as we all know, Josh Hart, great player for none other than the New York Knicks. Now he's done a fantastic job all season, but as you all know, Josh Hart has averaged 13.6 points, 9.6 rebounds, 5.9 assists, while also shooting 52.5% from the field. So he's done a fantastic job there. Now, when we look at New York Knicks, we do see, they have done a great job during the regular season, but Josh Hart also averaged or ranked, 75th in points, 13th in rebounds, 22nd in assists, and also 20th in field goal percentage. So he did a really good job during the regular season, actually averaging the top 100 in all 4 categories, which I think is very, very impressive. Now, obviously, New York Knicks face off against the Boston Celtics, which we just touched on. Now, just to quickly reiterate again, Celtics came in at second, 61-21 record. Knicks third, 51-31 record. So 10 game difference between both of them. Now, this is definitely a very balanced matchup, I would say, due to the fact that they both are ranked only one, slot apart. Now, looking at Boston's side of things and where Boston ranked defensively, we do see them ranked second when it comes to points allowed. In assists allowed, they did rank third, and then rebounds allowed, we also did see them rank a little bit worse as they ranked 13th. So when it comes to someone like Josh Hart, we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see him going on the under in a situation like this due to the fact that Boston Celtics just do a fantastic job defensively. They always have, and on top of that, they tend to also play, a lot of their shooting guards very well. Boston actually do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the shooting guard position. So we should actually see Josh Hart struggling there. So for that reason, we do very much like the under. Now looking at Josh Hart, actually against his round 1 matchup and also against Boston in game 1, we did see in game 3 he actually had 6 points, 9 assists, and 11 rebounds, and actually had a 118-116 win against Detroit. Then in game 4 faced off against them, and he had 14 points, 10 rebounds, and also 2 assists there. After that, faced off again in game 5, 15 points he had, 6 assists and 7 rebounds. And then in game 6, was able to seal the deal and advance him to the next round, where he had 13 points, 4 assists, and 10 rebounds. Now looking into game 1 against the Boston Celtics, we did actually see him have 14 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists there. So he did a fantastic job. Now when it comes to someone like Josh Hart, we definitely see him going on the under. Now he did actually go, pretty decently in that game 1, but like I mentioned, every time game 1 of playoff series are definitely a very, very different bowl game, as both teams are looking to still adjust to each other and know the defensive strategies to run. So you are expecting in this game 2 Boston to adjust. Although New York Knicks did win game 1, it is really anyone's game for the taking coming into this game 2, and especially in Boston's home court, it's definitely not that easy to win a game there. So they did get it done in game 1, but we think in game 2 there's definitely going to be a lot of adjustments made, and we could see Josh Hart strategically, be placed by Boston into the right positions and have him struggle. And that's why we do like the under for game 2 for someone like Josh Hart. So I wouldn't really need to focus on any one of these categories. I think all has the capability to definitely see him go on the under. So keep an eye for the line in general, and I definitely see him going on the under here. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Jamal Murray. So, as you all know, Jamal Murray, great player for none other than the Denver Nuggets. And he's done a fantastic job all season because he's actually averaged 21.4 points, 3.9 rebounds, 6 assists, whilst also shooting 47.4% from the field. So he did a great job there for the Denver Nuggets. Now, when we look at where he actually ranked, in all 3 categories, we actually did see him rank 26th in points, 114th in rebounds, and then also 19th in assists, while also ranking 57th in field goal percentage. So he did a fantastic job there. Now the Denver Nuggets do face off, as we all know, against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's definitely been a very exciting game, but what we also do see is that when we look at Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets facing off against OKC, we also do see Oklahoma City Thunder defensively do rank very well. Now OKC do rank 3rd in points allowed. They also rank 4th in assists allowed, and then when it comes to rebounds allowed, they also do rank a little bit lower as they rank 20th. Now just to reiterate again, OKC and the matchup between Denver, OKC came in, at the first spot, 68-14 win-loss record, and then also Denver Nuggets 50-32 with a fourth record. So, they did a great job. Both of these teams, obviously, both are in a very good position in the Western semifinals. Now, coming back to Thunder, they do a great job in a points and assists, and we actually saw Jamal Murray struggle a little bit in that game one, and we definitely actually see him going on the under in this situation here, but strictly just for points and assists. We would definitely leave out rebounds due to the fact that OKC actually do a pretty poor job at rebounds, so we think points and assists is definitely where you want to keep an eye out for, due to the fact we definitely see someone like him more likely going on the over in this in that scenario, in that rebound. So I would just strictly focus more on points and assists for someone like Jamal. Now, looking at Jamal Murray's current games and the most recent ones, we have seen some pretty interesting ones. We see in Game 4, he actually, against LA Clippers, he actually had 13 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. So he did a fantastic job there. Then after that, we actually saw in Game 5 in a 131-115 win against Clippers, we saw him have 43 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. Then in Game 6, had 21 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds. And then Game 7, to seal the deal and advance them, in a 120-101 win, he had 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists there. So, we saw him play very, very well during that series. Now, coming into this next series, we actually did see him in Game 1 with a 121-119 victory, had 21 points, 6 assists, and also 6 rebounds. So, like we mentioned before, we did actually see him go on the over in the rebounds, but points didn't make it on the over, and then assist, he only just tied at 6 flat. So, that's a big, big reason. We think in this next game, Oklahoma City Thunder are probably going to make some massive changes and massive adjustments. And we could see that definitely affect Jamal Murray. Now, Jamal didn't shoot that well that game, and although people may say it is a cold night for him, we also do have to give credit to Oklahoma City's defense. They definitely made it a struggle for him, and that's what we are expecting them to do for him again in Game 2. So for that reason, we do very much like the under. Like I mentioned, points and assists is definitely where you want to focus on, as I see a lot of more value there. So keep an eye out for those lines. If it is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under.